If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Adeptus Custodes Land Raider Solar Spearhead List. This video is a Solar Spearhead list that uses Land Raiders and Grav-tanks. Not as much Dreadnoughts, but a lot of anti-tank shooting. The Adeptus Custodes Venerable Land Raider dropped to 220 points in the September 2025 balance update. The Custodian Guard also had a points drop. I figured why not make a list using those units. I enjoy list building. Balance updates are a great time for me. We will take a look at my Grav-Raiders Solar Spearhead 2000 point list, a Stratagem tier list with a unit breakdown and game plan. First, let's take a look at this 2000 point list. I have named the Solar Spearhead list the Grav-Raiders, and it comes to 2000 points exactly. My Warlord is a Telemon heavy Dreadnought with the Augury uplink enhancement, with a Storm Cannon and the Telemon fist weapon. For my battle line, I do have 2 units of 5 Custodian Guard, 4 Guardian Spears, 1 Vexilla and Misericordian Shield in each one of those units. For my other data sheets, we do have 1 Caladius Grav-tank with the Twin Arachnus Heavy Blaze Cannon, 2 Venerable Land Raiders, 3 Venerable Contemptor Dreadnoughts, 2 units of 4 Witchseekers, and a big unit of 9 Prosecutors. That's my Grav-Raiders list. It comes to 2000 points exactly. Now for a Stratagem tier list. We'll start with the Solar Spearhead Detachment rule. The extra OC is nice on the Dreads and the Land Raider to help steal objectives. Once the vehicles are below starting strength, they get much more reliable in their damage. The Grav-tanks and the Land Raider become more reliable with reroll hits of 1. The Twin Arachnus Blaze Cannon on the Caladius already has the lethal hits into monster and vehicles as well as twin linked. The Contemptors in the list do not have a damage profile, no -1 to the hit roll, no matter how many wounds remaining. Very efficient in this detachment. I've split these stratagems into a bottom tier, middle tier, and top tier. My top tier stratagems are the ones I want to save my CP for and have CP for in the bank whenever I can. We will start with the bottom tier. We have Raffle Advance for 1 CP. This will give our unit a D3 plus 3 pylon move. It will be very rare when this will be worth using. If a 4-inch pylon can steal an objective, it could be worth it. D3 plus 3 is too unreliable. Other than that, forget about this stratagem. We have a lot of good stratagems in this detachment for this list. Save the CP. Next up is Punishment Inescapable. This can be useful on the Grav-tanks or the Land Raiders anti-tank guns. They hit a bit harder with Ignores cover. It can be worth 1 CP to go from a 3+ back to a 2+. We have to ask ourselves though, is it worth the 1 CP to go from a 3+ back to a 2+? Like I said, there is a lot of good stratagems and the 1 CP could be spent elsewhere. Another stratagem that will be for the most part not used as much in this list. Next up is our middle tier stratagems. Our first one is Emperor's Vengeance for 1 CP, a 4+ fight on death, or a 3+ fight on death if the unit is a walker. This is not vehicle locked for this list, though it might as well be. We can use this on the Custodian Guard for a 4+ fight on death. Even 1 Custodian Guard fighting on death can do some damage. The Dreadnoughts in this list are a different story. They fight on death on a 3+, as well as the Venerable Contemptors can stand back up and do it again. Depending on the unit and situation, puts the Emperor's Vengeance in the middle tier category. Last we have the top tier, and we do have 3 stratagems in the top tier. Our first one is Flawless Construction. This is a great stratagem for survivability. We do not have anything toughness 12 in this list besides the Venerable Land Raiders. Flawless Construction will be a stratagem we want to have CP for when we need it. Next is Unstoppable for 1 CP. This stratagem combined with the next top tier stratagem is what we use to turn this list into threat overload. It gives our vehicles unpredictable movement, allowing our vehicles to smash through terrain. The last stratagem in our top tier is Relentless Persecution. We could use this to advance and shoot the Grav-tank or the Land Raiders. It is the advancing and charging Dreadnoughts that the real threat from this stratagem and list comes from. The overall gameplay of this list is to overload the enemy with potential threats and then pounce on any mistakes. That is the stratagem tier list. Let's move on to the unit breakdown. We will start the unit breakdown with our Telemon Heavy Dreadnought Warlord. The one and only Telemon in my list. I've made him into a character, giving him the Augury uplink enhancement for a 5+ Feel No Pain. Kelgath the Immortal is my Warlord. The highlight of the Telemon Heavy Dreadnought is Movement 8, Toughness 10, 12 wounds, 2-up save with a 4+ invulnerable, and a powerful -1 to the incoming damage ability, Duty Eternal. The Dreadnought also has the martial kata ability for some Dreadnought karate, sustain hits 1 or lethal hits in the fight phase. I've played a lot of games with my Calgath the Immortal Telemon. He very rarely gets taken out. Calgath the Immortal has the fist weapon for punching out tough stuff, while the Storm Cannon can do some decent infantry chaff clearing damage. When Relentless Persecution is used, the Telemons have around a 21-inch advance and charge range. Move through ruins with Unstoppable. Even one Telemon can be great for putting pressure on objectives. Once planted on an objective, they can be hard to remove. Even more so for my Telemon with a 5+ Feel No Pain, on top of their built-in -1 damage. Use Flawless Construction for 1 CP to boost their survivability against hard-hitting anti-tank weapons. Next is our 3 Venerable Contemptor Dreadnoughts. 3 Zombie Dreadnoughts. I love these in the Solar Spearhead list. It is our 1 Codex Dreadnought. It is the best one in my opinion. The 1 Telemon is still great for Augury Uplink. After that, taking more Telemon is debatable. We still see 3 Venerable Dreads in 99% of competitive Solar Spearhead list. All 3 Dreads have the same melee profile of the Telemon with some multi-melta threat. Then best of all, it stands back up on a 2+ once per game, with D6 wounds remaining. Against opponents who only really have one way to take these Dreadnoughts out with either melee or shooting are in trouble. Into melee armies, we can use these to charge and move block, while other units set up shooting lanes and counter charges. These 3 Dreadnoughts can charge into Tau or other shooting heavy list, knowing they have a very good chance that if and when the Tau gun them down, they will stand back up on a 2+ to cave in some more Xenos skulls. Like the Achilles Dreadnought, it is only a 5+ invulnerable. They can't walk through a bullet storm to get into combat like the Telemon can. Just like the Telemon, the Venerable Dreadnought will love having access to advance and charge, -1 to the wound roll, and move through the terrain stratagems. Punishment Inescapable is probably used more on the Grav-tanks or the Land Raiders. The Venerable does have the multi-melta, but is not something we want to spend 1 CP on to make the shooting a bit better. I love my Solar Spearhead Zombie Dreadnoughts. On to our 2 units of 5 Custodian Guard. I wanted some cheap but deadly units to put inside my Land Raiders, 5 Custodian Guards with 4 Spears and 1 Vexilla. There are not many rules to buff the Custodian Guard in the Solar Spearhead. A Final Death on a 4+ is an option. The Land Raider has the Assault Ramp ability. The Custodian Guard can disembark, shoot and charge after the Land Raider has moved. The idea of this unit is for them to jump out, clear out an objective, or take out an important unit. Next turn, embark back inside the Land Raider for some more party bus fun. Each of these units in the fight phase will have 20 spear attacks, hitting on a 2+, strength 7, AP2 damage 2, as well as 5 Misericordia attacks, hitting on a 2+, strength 5, AP2 damage 1. This will help combat one of the weaknesses of the Solar Spearhead, volume of attacks. A Telemon into a 10 model infantry unit is not going to kill that unit. 5 Custodian Guard into a 10 infantry model unit is a bloodbath 90% of the time. We still have 3 Zombie Dreadnoughts and Calgath the Immortal to deal with the more elite targets. Next up is a new addition to my Solar Spearhead list, 2 Venerable Land Raiders. We have always thought the Venerable Land Raider would be a good fit in the Solar Spearhead Detachment. Until the most recent update, the Caladius Grav-tanks were much cheaper. Now the Venerable Land Raider is only 5 points more, 220 points for the Land Raider or 215 points for the Grav-tank. I would rather the Land Raider be a bit cheaper to make it more viable in other detachments. What does the Solar Spearhead do to make the Land Raider worth using in a list instead of another Caladius Grav-tank? Let's take a look at the Land Raider datasheet. The Venerable Land Raider has a movement of 10, toughness of 12, a 2-up save, 16 wounds, 6+ leadership, and an OC of 5. And that toughness 12 is pretty rare with the Custodes. Most of our other vehicles except for our flyers are at toughness 11 or lower. There's something else that's good about our Land Raiders, is that our Land Raiders hit on a 2+. They're the same price as the Space Marine Land Raider, but they actually hit on a 2+ instead of a 3+. We can transport up to 1 to 6 Custodes models in each one of these Land Raiders. They have the ability Assault Ramp. Each time a unit disembarks from this model after it has made a normal move, that unit is still eligible to declare a charge this turn. So we can move this Land Raider, disembark the unit inside, and then charge that unit. And that's going to be some Custodian Guard inside my Land Raiders for this list. The Venerable Land Raider has some good anti-tank shooting. The problem with it is that it could be a bit unreliable with no rerolls. Below starting strength, we can reroll a hit roll of 1 from the detachment rule. It is also toughness 12, the only toughness 12 in the list. We want to use these to draw the shooting from enemy anti-tank. Toughness 12 means less need for flawless construction, and we can use this on our Dreadnoughts or the Caladius Grav-tank. Unstoppable seems really fun and thematic. I can see these smashing through walls to drop off some Custodian Guard. Each Land Raider has 2 Godhammer las cannons for a total of 4 shots, each hitting on a 2+, strength 12, AP 3, damage D6 +1. It can equip the one-shot Hunter Killer Missile, hitting on a 2+, strength 14, AP 3, damage D6. It has the Storm Bolter and the Twin Heavy Bolter for a bit of anti-infantry shooting. Plant these on or close to an objective in no man's land to fire down range, drop off infantry, or even tank some shots from the enemy. It might soak up some shots that would do some serious damage to our Dreadnoughts or our infantry. The Venerable Land Raider has Martial Kata for some Custodes Karate, some extra armored tracks melee. The Assault Ramp ability, a useful ability to keep the Custodian Guard safe inside, yet still a charge threat. Ideally, we end the charge close enough to move the unit and embark them back inside the Land Raider in our next turn before we move the Land Raider. We won't be able to disembark and charge that turn, but we will be able to push that Land Raider with the Custodian Guard further up the table towards the enemy. Next is the lone Caladius Grav-tank. This detachment buffs these tanks through the roof. Even if 1 wound is taken off these tanks, the detachment rule will give them reroll hit rolls of 1. They have lethal hits into monster and vehicle units when using the Arachnus Heavy Blaze Cannon. They are a very reliable anti-tank unit. The Stratagems and the Solar Spearhead are perfect for the Grav-tank. Flawless construction for 1 CP is -1 to the wound roll if the incoming attack is higher than the Caladius Toughness 11. This covers the weakness of big high strength anti-tank weapons. Punishment is escapable to ignore hit modifiers and cover. Great for those vehicles who have used smoke or any other -1 to the hit abilities. Great for digging out tough units in cover too. Relentless Persecution gives the Caladius Grav-tank advance and shoot. The opponent has to plan for the fact that this tank could advance and shoot. Unstoppable for 1 CP can also be used on these tanks or the Land Raiders. These will 90% be used on the Dreadnoughts in the list. Like Relentless Persecution, it is the threat that we could go through a wall to get line of sight with these vehicles. This tank, along with the 2 Land Raiders, adds so much potential long-range threat. It makes going into the shooting lanes a nightmare for the opponent. Then on top of that, all of these stratagems and the fact that the opponent does not one-shot the tank, it will only be shooting harder in the next Custodes turn. Threat overload is the name of the game. Next up is our 2 units of 4 Witchseekers. The Witchseekers are great for getting those turn 1 points. They have a 6-inch scout ability that really helps for grabbing objectives early, or secondary scoring where we may have to stand out in the open. Much easier to work around losing a Witchseeker unit after scoring some secondary points than a whole Custodes infantry unit. They can cause a battle shock test against 1 enemy unit hit by their torrent weapon. Once again, not a unit that gets much detachment support. The Witchseeker is still great for a vehicle heavy list. It frees our vehicles and our Dreadnoughts up to do the murder. Last on my list, I have 9 Prosecutors. Not a lot of detachment synergy for the Prosecutors or the Witchseekers. The Prosecutors are used to hold and screen my home objective. I have 9 Prosecutors in the unit for the new low 75 points. I want to create a giant screen in my back lines. These Psychotic units have a 3+ save. They can oddly be hard to remove with small arms fire when they are in cover. They become much harder to kill when targeted by psychic attacks to get use of their Daughters of the Abyss ability, a 3+ Fatal Pain to psychic and mortal wounds, and that does include tank shock, grenades, any kind of mortal wounds. We have a 3+ Fatal Pain against it. Next is a general game plan for this list. The game plan for this list is the same for most Solar Spearhead list, mid-board control. The Dreadnoughts are faster, not threaten the enemy deployment zone fast. Use their speed to advance them as far as we can safely into no man's land. We can send a unit of Witchseekers with a Contemptor Dreadnought to hold our expansion objective, while the Telemon and the 2 Venerable Land Raiders put pressure on the center and the enemy expansion objective. The Venerable Land Raiders are toughness 12 with 16 wounds in a 2-up save. They also have 4 las cannon shots each that hit on a 2+. It is not like if we use these aggressively, our opponent can ignore them all game. In fact, we want them in places such as objectives that forces our opponent to interact with them. Calgath the Immortal, our Telemon, will have the same kind of role, all while the 3 Contemptors in the Custodian Guard are taking out the enemy scoring units. Between the Caladius shooting down the board and the 9 Prosecutors in the list, we should be able to screen out the back lines. The second Witchseeker unit will scout 6 inches towards the center if able. I would much rather use a Witchseeker unit to do a secondary action in the center over one of my Dreadnoughts or the Custodian Guard. Threat overload and pressure will be the playstyle of this list in the Solar Spearhead. We will finish the video with some final thoughts. That was my new Solar Spearhead list using the Venerable Land Raider and the Custodian Guard. You can replace the Caladius with another Land Raider or Dreadnought, possibly drop the Prosecutors to 4 models if some more points are needed. It was made as a fun casual list, but it might have some competitive teeth. It may need some tweaks to become a real competitive list. Solar Spearhead was the best when the 3 Telemon rush was a thing. 1 Telemon and 2 Venerable Land Raiders might be able to simulate that same pressure playstyle. What do you think of the list? Throw it down in the comments. Subscribe for battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Channel members gain early access and access to the channel Discord. Like always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.